Hey, aloha, love tribe. Welcome to Bitcoin for Peace. I have somebody here with me who I've been admiring from afar. You've been somebody who has inspired me as a woman, as a Bitcoiner, as somebody who wants to make the world a better place. This is Lorraine, Queen Marcel. Hi, Marcel. Welcome to Bitcoin for Peace.
Thank you so much, Valerie, and thank you for having me on your podcast. It's
Of
really an
course.
honor.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. I know how crazy busy you are. You're obviously training so many women out there about financial empowerment and about how to make the world a better place with Bitcoin, but really how to have financial inclusion in places where women have been excluded traditionally. So, how about you let the audience know, who you are, what's BTC Data, where, how did you get started? And we'll just kind of let you do an intro.
Okay, so my name is Marcel Lorraine, or fondly known as Queen Marcel within the community.
Mhm.
Um, a bit about my background. I did finance, banking and finance in college. And then when I stepped out, I realized employment wasn't it for me. So I started hustling, just like every young Kenyan out here. So I got into businesses. By the time I was getting to know about the blockchain space or the crypto space, I had started my own events company because I love events, I love organizing stuff. So how I got into the Bitcoin space back in 2018, there was a lot of hype around the blockchain space. The same way we have a lot of hype around the metaverse, or AI tools right now. So there was a lot of hype around the blockchain space. And I believe like every young person trying to make it in this system, a lot of people were jumping into it. And I consider myself I'm a risk taker, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted to change my narrative as an African female. So I thought to myself, maybe the blockchain space is something that will actually change my story, right? And
Mm.
change the story of so many young people. So I got in, but because of the lack of mentorship, somebody to guide me along, I got into a lot of crypto scams, projects that were scams. So I
Mhm.
was scammed, but of course, I have to admit that I did make some money, right? So there was a bit of, you're making money now, tomorrow you don't have that money. So there was a lot of uncertainty about holding certain digital assets, which for me was really confusing. And because of the lack of mentorship, at some point I felt like I wanted to give up, right? Um,
Mm.
and I remember there was a time I, had like a self talk with myself, and I told myself, this is not making sense because I'm making money, but then I'm losing it at the end of the day. So when we had like the lockdown, I decided to give it and one more trial because during the lockdown I was also doing forex trading. So that's how I actually paid my bills.
Mhm.
So I chose to start learning about Bitcoin. I chose to start learning about Bitcoin. And the reason why I chose Bitcoin wasn't really because I understood how Bitcoin worked. It was mainly because I felt Bitcoin was the foundation of all other cryptocurrencies, like so many other, well, every other crypto was actually, it's a replication, sort of like a duplication of what Bitcoin is. So I decided, let me start learn by, getting to understand what the mother currency is, and then probably later on try and figure out these other crypto scams, I mean, crypto coins. But the more I started learning about Bitcoin, I realized, you know what? Bitcoin is the answer for me. Like other projects didn't really make sense to me because Bitcoin is actually the only truly decentralized asset that we have out there. So for me, deciding to learn about any other form of investment, I mean, cryptocurrencies was like just going back to learn about, centralized organizations or centralized systems. So I chose Bitcoin and that was it for me. So the issue, how I got to, building or forming Bitcoin Data was, like I said, two things. The lack of representation, the lack of mentorship in the space for me. When I started my journey, I didn't have a mentor, neither did I see somebody who actually looked like me. And when I say somebody who looked like me was is a black woman, sometimes when you have new things coming up, the digital space is actually rather, it's actually every other day we're seeing new technology coming up. And because as an African female, we have been socialized to think certain rooms are not meant for us. I
Mm.
was skeptical. I was scared. I wasn't confident if this is actually was going to work for me, or actually I'm welcome in this space, or I should be here in the first place, or if I should actually participate. So trying to build my confidence, I started looking for people who actually looked like me. But unfortunately, I only got men. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having male mentors, but all through my life, I have seen men. Participating in the financial spaces. And this might sound a bit controversial, but men, and especially African women, men, sort of are gatekeepers in the financial space. It's the society as a whole, but men actually are in these leadership positions. So what I wanted was to see me in somebody else. And I remember at that time, I only saw two people, which was Farida Naburema, who is a human rights activist from Togo, and I also saw Charlene Fadirepo, who is actually a Black American. So to me, it was really rather disturbing, considering half of the population of Africa, if not more, comprises of the African female. So here I was with this new discovery, a new technology that was going to supposedly change the financial landscape of Africa, yet half of the population was actually in dark. I don't want to say left out or sort of bad from actually participating, because no one actually owns no one actually controls Bitcoin. So I would say half of the population is still in dark. So I was like, okay, this has to change. I mean, this is a problem that I'm seeing. And I decided, instead of waiting around, to actually do something about it. So I created a small community. I remember it was about 20 females who were like from my circle, so friends of friends. We just call each other and started like a WhatsApp group, and we started learning together. And I have to confess, when I started Bitcoin Dada, the first cohort, I was also learning with them. I remember I used to train them, and the following day I would also like listen to YouTube channels, have my own notes. And then the next day I would be with them, I would train them, send them some resources so that they can actually get to understand more. So that's how we started Bitcoin Dada. The other reason as to why I was inspired to start Bitcoin Dada is the fact, and I think I've mentioned this, for the longest time, the African female has been barred, from making financial decisions,
Mm.
participating in financial activities. And it really doesn't make sense, because again, we form half of the population of Africa. We make more transactions, we form part of the economy. So it really doesn't make sense if half of the population is actually burdening the other gender. And when people, and this is something that we need to understand, when we talk about empowering the woman, whether it's African or whatever, it's not just about the females themselves, it's about the entire community, it's about the entire economy, right? When you have different individuals or bodies actually bringing in more resources, that means we have a way to have access to better health, better education, um, better housing. Everything just becomes better if we all bring in a bit of whatever we are gaining. But if we actually bar one gender, who is the female, who actually ironically runs African homes, because in Africa the homes are run by African females, so you're in a position where you have the majority of the responsibilities. You're the mother, you're the cook, you're the teacher, you're everything. You have this amount of money that probably your partner has given you. You need to actually budget for it. But at the end of the day, you don't have anything to actually show for. And it's unfortunate that we as African female have a lot of challenges in that um, societal norms, long-standing traditions have barred us from actually participating, because we are not allowed to inherit property. well, majority of African countries do not allow African females to inherit property. So that means less collateral. We have issues such as gender pay gaps. We have lack of job opportunities. And this stems from the fact that in some cultures, the girl child is not really allowed to educate herself, And even if we have these girls actually going for education, when it comes to employment opportunities, when you look at the high levels, the C-suite, the decision-making boards, the policy makers, they're all majority. You find like 90% are men with only one female. So it really doesn't
Okay.
them actually have getting that education does not equate to getting these jobs. So I felt like it was time to change the African narrative, to actually start doing something about it. And the fact I know is no one is or was coming to save us. But Satoshi Nakamoto has actually gifted us, not just as African women or Africans, but the whole world, to it. Bitcoin has actually equalized the playing field for all of us. So
Mhm.
depending on the challenge that you're facing as a community, as an individual, Bitcoin sort of has actually given us a tool to actually push against, injustices, social injustices. Yeah.
Wow. It sounds, I mean, you've definitely, what I admire about you among many things is your act so action oriented. You saw a problem, you saw a gap, and then you were like, okay, how can I help fill this gap with my skill set? And then,
Yeah.
obviously bringing people together is very important. And I think a lot of people forget, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man or an 80-year-old person or a teenager or whatever. A lot of times we receive information better when it comes from people who are more similar to us. Like for
Exactly.
me, trying to teach my kids about Bitcoin, they're like, eh. But if there's somebody that's like a little bit older, that's their peer that they look up to, they'll be like, okay, now I'll
Yeah.
listen. And so having groups of women, having groups of African women and anybody, whether you're moms, whether you're teen, it doesn't matter. But when you can get more in alignment with people that you feel can relate to what your situation is, you can have, I think, more clarity in your conversations and empathy and compassion and really understanding problems so that you can solve them together. um, I didn't know that you couldn't inherit property. So how does can Bitcoin come into play here so that we can help get women more collateral as they move forward on their financial sovereignty paths?
Okay, so yes, we are not allowed, most cultures in Africa, including my own tribe, we as females are not allowed to own property or inherit property. Sorry, not own, inherit property from our parents. But that has been changing. But even with the changes, we actually seeing rebellion from the society. Why should this female, inherit this property? She's actually female. This is not allowed within our culture. So how does Bitcoin come in to help us solve this? And I want you to understand it from this point of view. So you have, whether it's a loving father or not, really doesn't matter. But they have raised their kids. This is a family unit. And then all of a sudden something happens to this particular man. He dies. He's not longer in the picture. So because you're a woman, you're the wife to this person, that means the property your husband owned goes to the family, not to you.
Oh my gosh.
So how does this play in? So you and your kids have to like sort of downsize or downgrade your lifestyle, especially if you are not working. And even if you were, that means like the other side of the stream of income is gone. So at the end of the day, you cannot really match two streams of income. You
Mhm.
definitely have to go down a bit, right? A notch. So how does Bitcoin come in? Let's say, for example, if somebody or a woman actually understood how Bitcoin works, it's completely decentralized, it has privacy and all that. You can actually start building or accumulating your own wealth, whether it's through buying Bitcoin from $1,000, whether it's $10, whether it's $2, because here we have apps that actually allow us to buy Bitcoins from as low as $2 or $1, which is like BitNob. So shout out to BitNob for enabling us to actually do that. So regardless whether you come from a wealthy family or not, you can actually start to, build your wealth bit by bit. Because at the end of the day, even if you decide, okay, I have my own money, I want to buy property. So buying property might be quite expensive compared to just starting bit by bit, buying Bitcoin worth $10 bit by bit, instead of deciding to, I'm going to save in the next 2 years, 3 years, so that I can actually manage to buy property like land, real estate property. So Bitcoin actually opens that door and says, hey, Bitcoin sort of says, like, I really don't care whether you're male or female, whether you have excess money or not,
Hmm.
disposable money or not, but you can start accumulating your wealth from as little as $2. And when it comes to savings, I've mentioned saving your money for to buy actually real estate, probably in the next 3, 4 years, 10 years, depending on your income, right? The other challenge that we face in Africa is devaluation of currency as well as inflation rates.
Hmm.
So talk about Malawi, and I have one of my students who is actually from Malawi, and when we met, I was on a track with the gridless team as well as the HRF team,
Hmm.
and we met at the mining site, and it was just 10 days after the currency had been devalued by 40%. And during our conversation, she wasn't sure how it's going to be next, because that means their salaries have been devalued by 40%. So whatever they have, less 40%. So you can imagine the destabilization of that family,
Yeah.
right? And this happens across most African countries. So, but with Bitcoin, at least you have some sense of security that I really don't have to worry that tomorrow our government can wake up and decide we're going to devalue the currency without any explanation, or inflation is going to affect you 10 times more than the Western countries. You saved up to buy property worth $10,000. The next minute, you only have $6,000 worth in your savings account, right? So Bitcoin actually helps us in this way as African females. And at the end of the day, we have a chance to also pass on wealth to the next generation. So, like I said, it's not just about us, the African females, it's about the community as a whole. Because if I have Bitcoin stored, if I have Bitcoin as an asset, it's very easy for me to actually pass it on to my kids and
Yeah.
even my grandkids. Very easy, without any bureaucracy involved, without any barriers involved.
And I think that's one of the most important gifts that we can give ourselves and our children and all the multi-generational people who are going to benefit from, a Bitcoin. Oh, wow. We've got a lot of comments here. Hold on. I got to go. Let me pull these up. I'm still figuring out how to use this here. Check this out. My
Oh,
chat
I can see.
overlay. Look at all these folks. They're all giving you the love. Yeah.
Thank you so
Yay. Dada's in the house. So, oh, I love it, you guys. This is so cool. Thanks for tuning in here. I know Marcel's the best. Um, you know, so this is super important. I think a lot of us forget about, okay, I mean, a lot of us in the Western states, we know that, we can own property and we can inherit property. So that's a big problem that
much.
Bitcoin can solve for, And the other thing too, mentioning, like, I did an interview with Vivian with Life with Bitcoin, BTC Viv, and we were talking about being a mother, right? And it's hard, like you said, if you're a homemaker, and if you're somebody who is spending all your time taking care of the kids and taking care of the family and the husband, et cetera, et cetera. um, you're not earning dollars or money, whatever, but you're spending all this time making sure everything is running smoothly. And then, unfortunately, in all over the world, like, we're not compensated for that. And that's fine. We do it because that's our job. But if something does happen, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a death, whether it's an illness, whether there's violence that you need to get out of that relationship, if you don't have something that is yours and yours alone, that nobody can take from you and nobody can go say, no, you can't have this. You're putting yourself at risk physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, everything. And you're putting your families at risk too. And so it's not, it's one of the smartest, safest things you can do for yourself as a woman, and certainly as a mother, is to have your own pot of Bitcoin or pot of gold or whatever, bless you, you want to call it, um,
Mhm.
because you just never know. You know, are people? I've done a couple interviews with people about domestic violence and escaping these situations. Is that an issue that you've come across with your ladies, that they've been able to get out of situations using Bitcoin?
Oh my God. Domestic violence, I think it's everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And especially in Kenya. And I actually did this talk, and it pains me um, to talk about what we go through as Kenyan women. So for here, I'm going to talk about Kenyan women
Hmm.
specifically because we've had a rise on also femicide, where females are killed because they're just females, right? So we've seen a rise of femicide in Kenya since 2018. Last year, we had more than 60 females killed. I think we've seen more than 600 women killed up to now. Um, and when it comes,
In Kenya alone? Oh my
yes,
God.
okay. So, and the funny thing is, and we had this discussion in the group earlier on today, where we were talking about sexual abuse and how lenient the courts are when it comes to sexual abuse. And I was giving them an example of a primary child, that's a minor, who was actually sexually assaulted by four men. And the punishment that they got, the first punishment that they got before women actually went on the street, was to cut grass,
To what?
slash grass, to slash grass at the police station.
To
Yes. Like to mow the lawn.
Oh, to slash the grass. Oh, yeah,
Yes,
to mow the lawn. Okay. That's
yes.
their punishment for
So
raping a
that was
child.
yes, for raping a child. And it was not until when women actually went on the streets and started, rioting and protesting against it, that the courts were like, okay, let's take a look at actually what happened. So that means if women did not stand up for this particular child, nothing would have happened. So it's very unfortunate that in Kenya specifically, and I know even other African countries like Uganda, because we've had this discussion in the community, that sexual abuse gender abuse is actually taken lightly by the laws,
Mhm.
and this is just because of gender-based discrimination. And talking about if women have actually used Bitcoin, yes. A specific case we had, and of course, I'm not going to mention names here. We had one of the females who was going through, abuse from the partner, and, you know, she was actually fully dependent, financially independent
Yeah.
on the man, right? So anything that she tried to do one way or another, the man actually sabotaged it in one way or the other. If it's showing up to her work, if it's a business that she just started, it was just all chaotic. So when she joined the community, of course, that she had not like disclosed all this to us, but I remember we had a conversation with her, and one of the, I consider her a leader in the community, and we decided what we are going to do is to start sending her BTC in bits, so after
Mhm.
the training, started sending her BTC in bits. And with that, we created a plan where she could just get out of the place and, find and figure her position in the society. So currently she is doing well. I mean, she has had to undergo, therapy sessions, but I can definitely say she's in a better place, free from, physical abuse and emotional abuse as well. And she has already started a small business of her own, and I can say she's really doing well. And a lot of women in the community not only use it for such kind of situations, but just for them to actually say that they own a bit of property for themselves,
Yeah.
a safe place, that they know, that a safe net rather, that should anything happen, I still have this. And even at the end of the day, it's not really about negative situations. I have a very positive experience that happened in the community. There are so many, but I'm going to mention one that I'm so proud of. Her name is Sarah. uh, she had been saving with Bitcoin last year. Well, last year but one. But last year she had managed, well, with a small spike, she managed to actually purchase a car for herself, expand her business, and this is all through BTC. So BTC necessarily doesn't have to be on the negative side, but we've also seen positive impact with using Bitcoin as an African female.
Wow, that's incredible. Isn't it? I mean, it is unfortunately ubiquitous. It's spread across the whole world that there are these inequities and there's domestic violence everywhere. I mean, nobody is immune to this. And I think one of the biggest things for any of us understanding one of the first tools that we need to take care of ourselves is sound money that nobody can take from us,
Yes.
and they can't go monitor our accounts. I had a woman on the podcast a couple months ago, um, and her ex, wouldn't, let her have things in her name because he just basically lied and convinced her that, oh, this is better for you and for us, and I'll take care of everything. And then it devolved into a physical abusive situation, and she had to get out. But she knew about Bitcoin. And so she was able to utilize Bitcoin and have a little bit to start over again with that was, not confiscatable
Yeah.
by her and or her partner, at the time. And so it's something that I think we need to keep nailing home for so many of us, because I think we forget, like if we think, oh, cool, we're just going to do well, health and wellness and all these great things and
Yeah.
communication and all this. Yes, we need to do that to become better people, but we also have to have financial sovereignty and experience. So because you see so many people stay stuck in
Yeah.
all levels, they get mental health issues because they don't feel like they can move forward on their career path. It was interesting. You mentioned earlier, you said you had a talk with yourself, um, and it's just like, when we have to sometimes have those moments of like, this isn't working, or I need to do something different and better with my life, and we don't want money to be something that is a hindrance. It is actually a gift and a tool,
Mhm.
and Bitcoin has obviously created, this opportunity for us. Um, I want to talk about your programs and everything that you're doing with BTC Data. Can you tell everybody what data means so we all know?
Okay, so I'll take you back to how I actually came up with the name Bitcoin Dada. I remember when I actually wanted to start the organization, I was really confused on what I was going to name it. Would it be She Queens, Bitcoin Ladies, and everything? And all that just felt like cliche and to me. So I, I remember it was about 3 a.m. I normally wake up during that period. So it was about 3 a.m. and I was just in my own world. And the word Bitcoin Dada just came to me. I was like, that actually makes sense. So Dada means sisters in Swahili, so
Mhm.
Bitcoin sisters. So it actually does make sense that we have a community of African sisters who actually come together to learn and understand how money works and actually try and implement it in their lives and the lives of their community. So what we do at Bitcoin Dada, we try to basically offer the tools and resources for these women to, learn about finances and actually become participants in the digital economy, because for the longest time women have been left out. So that is what we do. So we do through special trainings. We have specialized online trainings that run every Tuesdays and Thursdays for about 6 weeks.
Okay.
we Yeah, so initially we just started with the Kenyan community, but now we have expanded to other countries. So we have communities in Uganda, Nigeria. We've had students from Ghana, South Africa as well, Cameroon as well. So we've really expanded, which is great. We also have events, physical events. We have workshops as well, where they actually learn to use the hardware wallets and so on.
Nice.
We do have social networking sessions as well, where they can just come and interact with other Bitcoiners. And shout out to all Bitcoiners who've actually attended our events and try to interact with the females as well, the dadas as well. So thank you so much for that support. Um, At the end of the course, we have exams and where the ladies actually get to get a certificate. So, of course, the certificate is not really meant for them to, get a job or, have some sort, but it's actually meant to show them that you started somewhere, you actually have value, and you can do great things in this space. So it's like an introduction to the rest of their journey in the Bitcoin space. So that's what it symbolizes for us. It's not really about getting a job especially in the traditional sector, but it's a symbol of, you've learned all this, you've been able to go through these classes for the last 6 weeks. Now this is like an inspiration for you to continue learning.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
and I love sisters. Obviously, we're all about, you know, Bitcoin sisterhood and women in Bitcoin and just bringing us all together. And obviously, Bitcoin's for everyone, like we said, but it's just fun to like be around, you know, folks who
Yeah.
are like each other. And it's really, really cool. So let me ask you this. So this is something that I don't know if I've seen this on your site before, but so the Bitcoin talent pool, can you tell us about this?
Okay. So I started, one of the biggest challenge that I had was, what next after the education,
Right.
right? Job opportunities is one of the biggest challenge that we face as African females, or rather just as African, and I felt like we have a lot of opportunities in the digital space. So why not create a talent pool where other Bitcoiners or tech companies can actually get the skills that they're looking for in our pool? So we've started doing that. We started doing that in January. And so far, we have about 15 girls who've already been placed in
Nice.
Bitcoin companies as well as tech spaces. So I am very proud of the girls who've actually gotten these opportunities,
Amazing.
and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do, fully structure this in a proper way and have more girls placed in more companies. Of course, we cannot help everybody, but it's a start.
I love this so much, and I know we talked about this too with, like, Bitcoin for Peace and Bitcoiner Hub, like, we really wanna get, people 'cause everyone's not gonna go be a coder or a developer necessarily, right? But we're passionate about Bitcoin, we're passionate about, um, staying in the space, we're passionate about moving forward in our careers, and so I think, the more that we have an opportunity to hire other Bitcoiners, whether it's for marketing, whether it's for, you know, coding, anything that has to do with keeping Bitcoiners moving forward, I think it's so powerful and important. So we'll talk offline about this because I'm like, oh goody, I want to I want to I want to learn more and support and get, see what we can do there. Well, because I think too, like Me Premier Bitcoin is amazing, right? You've got all these wonderful folks who are getting educated, who love Bitcoin now, but it's like, okay, how do you get a job where you can earn Bitcoin? And
Exactly.
it's like, how can we help folks keep moving forward on their career paths? It's so, so important. Um,
Mhm.
I love it. What are some of the biggest challenges you've seen, in your own life kind of overcoming this? Have you had any family or people in your life who were just like, "Oh, Marcel, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. Go back to doing X, Y, or Z." Have you had any pushback from folks in your life?
I would say I think for my dad wasn't really like a challenge, but he's old school, and having done finance, I think up to now he doesn't understand why I'm not a banker, why I'm not in the office wearing a suit, a gray suit. He's such an old man. He doesn't really understand that, but he's not really like against it as much as long
Uh-huh.
as I can dish him money now and then. So he's really not against that. It's actually more of the larger relative, for them, they don't really understand what Bitcoin is, and they place Bitcoin with other crypto
Right.
coins. So it's like, oh, so she's a scammer now. She's, or if it's not scammer, yeah, she's a gambler. They really don't
Mhm.
understand what I'm doing. They're like, oh, are you sure about this? I remember I had a talk with one of my uncles, and he was like, are you really sure? He was concerned. For him,
Sure.
it wasn't really like he was against it, but he was concerned. He was like, you know what? You're a young, brilliant lady. I don't think you should be wasting your time, because I feel like you're wasting your time, you're wasting your talent, you're wasting your skills, and this thing is going to just blow up in the next few months, and you'll be back to square one searching for a job, and it's not easy. I think your closest relationship is the hardest group that you can actually orange peel.
Totally. Oh my god,
Hardest.
yes.
Because first of all, they've seen you grow, they know who you are, and then here you are trying to convince them or teach them of this new technology that it's going to solve their problems. And
Yeah,
they've been raised and brought up in this system. So it's very hard. And then you already have that rapport and the bond. So for them to take you seriously, it's very hard.
yeah,
So yeah, I've had a lot of challenge with that, my friends as well. But I think as Bitcoin Dada has been growing, I've seen them warming up. The other day I was attending my cousin's wedding, and one of my aunties was like, I also want to travel. Can you teach me these things that you're doing so that I can start traveling with you? I was like, you will not be able to do it because one, it requires a lot of, work, which I don't think many people understand.
mm-mm,
um, People only see the success bit,
yeah,
but they don't see the work that you've had to put in as a Bitcoiner, the challenging times, the nights that you actually stayed up, which is basically almost every other night, you know, the pushbacks, the frustrations from everyone, from everything. People only see the success, the flowery bit. So yeah, so I've had a couple of challenges from my friends, family members, the society as well, men also just bashing me online. And shout out to all the Bitcoin bros who've always supported or just, so shout out to all the Bitcoin bros who've always come to, fight for Bitcoin Dada when we've had like other men just trying to bash us. So there's also been that. But at the end of the day, I normally tell myself the goal is not just for African females, it's for the community as well to change but the perception of African females. Um, Currently, and I think for the longest time, the African female, unfortunately, we have been overworked, underpaid, over sexualized as well.
yeah,
And it's quite unfortunate. And for me, I want to change that, perception. I want people to look at us and see value,
yeah.
to look at me and see value, not to see my skin, not to see the shape of my body, not to see, you know, at the end of the day, I just want people to look at African females and see value.
I love it. And so how has that been going so far other than you're saying things are transforming? Like, what's been the biggest, um, just proof of that in your life? Like, that you've seen a little, some progress there?
So other than the community, we have I've had a lot of success within the community, but I can say in my personal life, something positive is actually the biggest challenge that I have or I've had with running Bitcoin Data is coming out of my cocoon, comfort zone, and
Mhm.
transforming into a leader. Um, Initially, I was very comfortable living in my own introverted nature. You know, I was a forex trader and also ran an events company. So I was only dealing with one client at a time. So I really didn't have to be on a stage or train people. It was just me and my cats. So all this dealing with a group of females, dealing with potential sponsors, dealing just sharing what my story has been quite foreign, and it has actually pushed me into realizing my own potential.
Nice.
And I've had to transform overnight. Moving from this quiet girl behind the desk and into a mentor, a coach, whether I liked it or not. I've had to be an advocate, for these women as well. I've had to be a communicator, I've had to actually think of ways I could provide resources for my community as well. And I remember there was one message that one of the ladies sent to me. I think that was last year. We were doing like, it was the third cohort, if I can remember correctly. And there was a lot going on. We didn't have funding at that time. There was a lot going on. I didn't have my team back then. I remember I was doing everything. I was the CEO, the founder, the community manager, the designer, everything.
I
And
know.
all
All the
family
hats.
life. Yeah, yeah. So I was everything. And it was slowly draining me financially and emotionally as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, whether it was just the universe that decided to use this lady. But I remember she sent me, and this is Roslyn. So, Roslyn, if you're on this call, shout out to you. You actually, pushed me forward.
Uh-huh.
So she sent me a text and told me that, "Hi, Marcel, I just wanted to let you know that should you ever decide to give up, you will be sinking with a very huge ship. So
Oh.
whatever is happening, just know that you have to push forward and we are here to support you." So I'd not told anyone about what I was feeling, but I think it's just the universe that decided to just use her. Um, yeah, so I think transforming into this powerhouse of potential has been one of the biggest impact that I can say I've had through forming or founding Bitcoin Dada. And within the community, we've seen females, like I said, starting accumulating their own wealth.
Hmm.
Um, we've seen transformation even within themselves, because I can give examples of females who are actually just like me, introverted, quiet, who have had no confidence in themselves, who've actually transformed, doing better for themselves and deciding to taking up spaces in different areas. Um, start we've seen women start saving, having their own form of wealth for themselves. And there has been a great impact realizing that we can actually create our own financial inclusion system, creating
Hmm.
between economies where once it was not possible. So like I said, Satoshi has gifted us, as humanity, not just humans, not just as African females.
I think I'd love you just struck on a good point with confidence, right? Like a lot of people think, oh, it's just number go up or it's this technology or la la la. Again, if you don't have like a sense of financial empowerment and understanding and ownership of your path and your destiny, you can feel apathetic or afraid or more introverted and closed. People don't believe this, but I'm an introvert. I'm the same way. I'm with my dog and my trees and the squirrels and my children, and I love coming out to the events. And then I go into my little cave and I'm happy as a clam. Um, but but it does turn, like Bitcoin changes you, it turns you into, like you said, this powerhouse of potential and possibilities, and
Mhm.
it's just like, isn't it cool to think like all of a sudden you're turning into a leader, you're turning
Yeah.
into this mentor, this educator, and people rely on you. Like the world would be different if you weren't in it,
Mhm.
and so it's like, what a great thing that she said to you to keep you on track. And I think a lot of us, we think other people who are our mentors, our teachers, or maybe further along a path don't need to hear that. Well, let me tell you, everybody needs to hear that we
Exactly.
matter and that we have value and that what we're doing is making their life different and hopefully better, so for all of us out there, I'd encourage, like, don't be shy. Like, tell the people that mean something to you, like, hey, what you're doing is helping my life, or it's helping our community, or
Mhm.
whatever it might be. Like, I think that goes a long, long, long way. And so look at you now. It's so
Yeah.
cool. So what's on the horizon for you? What do you have? Do you have any big events coming up? What's happening in the next, few months, 6 months that we can help promote and support?
Okay, so we have a couple of projects that have been lined up for the year, but I don't want to talk about them until but I'll just mention we have Bitcoin Data Dev um coming up. So you'll have like a section of the devs, because we also have the technical girls on board. So we have that in line. We have, a project that will support women-led businesses as well. So I'm super excited for that. we'll be giving out loans, to these females in form of Bitcoin, and actually be helping them to integrate BTC in them in their businesses. And the other exciting event that should be happening in Kenya, this is not Bitcoin Data, but we are one of the organizers. Well, yeah. So African Bitcoin Conference will be in Kenya. So definitely go to their website and get yourself a ticket. And I'm hoping to see you, by the way, Valerie, during the ABC. So it's happening in December. So I'm hoping to meet a lot of people during that event, and also come mingle with the dadas as well. We'll have some of the dadas during the event as well. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm seriously that's on my dream list. I need to get a hold of Farida and everybody there to like submit some things so I can get myself over and start figuring out how to get some funding to
Um, I think I lost you. Um, so I'm not sure, but you're either on mute. I can't hear you.
Oh, I think I clicked a button when I'm like going through all the things. Sorry. I know. I'm like, what happened? I got some notifications that the volume went off. No, no. Hey, so what I wanted to share too, yeah, it's been a huge dream of mine to get over there for this conference. And so I'm going to work on um, getting some sponsors or something to help me so I can come over and learn and bring back good messages to everybody. And I'm excited. One thing I want to share with you and your audience and everybody, and I think this is going to be hopefully something, like you said, it's very difficult sometimes to educate and orange pill the people that are closest to us, right? But stories matter, right? And so when we tell stories and people can relate to it, so whether you're a teenager, a firefighter, a trader, anything, like if we're hearing stories from those people that, we can speak their same language, it can help us maybe move the needle down our journey of Bitcoin. And so are you familiar with a series called Chicken Soup for the Soul? Have you ever heard of that book series?
Yeah.
It was a wildly popular book series, and it was all these different, like, so chicken soup here in the States is like a remedy if you're not feeling good. Like if you have a stomach ache or if you're sick, you take chicken
Same
soup.
here.
And so you say, chicken soup for the soul. How am I going to help my heart and soul feel better? And so um, Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen were the curators of this, and they had all these user stories that would come in, and then they just put them into these different books, and then they created all these book series about how do you get through a divorce, or how do you get through a hard time in life, or cancer, or la la la, anything. And I mean, they sold multi million copies because people were hungry to know that they're not alone on these
Mhm.
big journeys in life, and so we're doing that with Bitcoin for Peace, and we're going to do a Peaceful Money, Peaceful World series. And we want everybody around the world to contribute their story. It could be a little video, it could be a little article, it could be anything that's just going to help everybody else who might be listening understand how Bitcoin has touched their life in one way or another. And so anybody who wants to check that out, you guys can go to the bitcoinforpeace.org/story and make a submission. So I hope to get one from you too, Queen Marcel, and all the dadas. I think that would be incredible. But I want to make sure everybody can follow you. So it's the best place on Twitter, on X. I know they still call it Twitter. Uh, and BTC underscore data, and then obviously btcdata.com. Are you guys, can people make donations to you? Can we
Yeah, so on the website we have a donation page. So if they can just click on that, they'll see a QR code.
donate? Oh, here we go. Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, cool. Check out on BitNob. Oh, hey, look at you guys. Yay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that people can make a donation.
Yeah.
Can they do it in fiat or only in Bitcoin? Or
Only in
both?
Bitcoin.
Only in Bitcoin. Okay, cool. Yay. Amazing. So hopefully we will get you guys some donations here. And who did it? It didn't open up. Oh, hold on. I was on the wrong page. Give me a second here. Share this tab instead. Okay, now can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. And so I was like, what? I'm not seeing it. Um, awesome, awesome, awesome. So yeah, you guys make sure you guys go make a donation. Every little bit counts, right? Imagine if 10,000 people donated $1 or $1 worth of sats. That would make a difference, I imagine, for any of our
Absolutely.
projects. Um, any final words that you want to share with the audience so that they know, how to get going on their Bitcoin journey and keep the good vibes flowing?
I think I would say, especially for newbies or anybody trying to build a community in the Bitcoin space, is just you don't have to know everything. Just put one step in front of the other. That way, that's how you start your journey, right? That's how I actually got started, and that's how I am where I am right now. I didn't know how things would pan out, but I saw a problem that needed a solution, and I began with whatever I had. And at that time, the only thing that I had were my skills. So just start with whatever you have, whether it's just starting to learn. There's a lot of materials, thankfully, free materials online that you can check. You can listen to podcasts such like this one, getting to understand different stories as well. You can decide to join communities that are already existing, like Bitcoin Dada. That is if you're an African female. If not, there are so many other communities that you can join from. There's a lot going on X, the Bitcoin side. There's a lot of people that you can follow. There's so much that you can learn in the Bitcoin and space. So just drop the fear, and start small. Doesn't matter. Start wherever you are. And then the other thing is, no one is an expert in this space. We all are learning, and every day is a learning day.
It's so true. I love that advice. I mean, we're all learning. There are no experts in Bitcoin. Like we
Yeah.
are all still students, no matter how long we've been on this journey. And I would imagine if Satoshi were here, Satoshi might even agree with that because like, whoa, look at all the new things that keep happening and keep the impact that
Exactly.
Bitcoin creates. So there's no uh, there's no stupid questions. Everybody started from zero at some point. This is all new to all of us, and so I agree. I think taking one step at a time and finding a group of people that you resonate with and that you want to spend some time with and dive deep, which is really important. And that's obviously what you're doing with BTC data. Yay, Bitcoin data. Woohoo, go sisters.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yay.
much.
I know.
Yeah.
I hope I get to see you in December and fingers crossed. So I'll be working on that. But
So, a final request.
yeah.
Could you bring me like a card? How do you call them? The spiritual cards. You owe me one.
Do you want one right now? Yes,
Yeah, sure.
let's do it. Okay, hold on. We're gonna do one right now. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna do one from this
Okay.
deck. Okay, so this is the Sacred Creators
Okay.
Oracle. It's an abundance journey for your creator soul. Oh,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to not get you your beautiful card. I know. Well, it's funny, Marcel. I'm starting a project actually because I love doing art and AI, and I love words, and I love all this kind of stuff. Um, that's going to have, for Bitcoin, for breakups, for money, all this stuff. So I'm excited to. That's one of my little business projects. Okay, so all right. Okay, think of a question. You don't have to say it out loud if you don't want to, but you can if you want or not. It's your call.
I don't want to think of a question. I just want it to be a random message.
Okay, random, random. Okay, this is for Marcel. Marcel. Okay. Okay, this is perfect for us introverts.
Okay, so you say,
Can you see it?
fearless expression. Wow, love it.
And it's got a little microphone on it, like a podcast microphone. What? Oh my gosh.
Get to be
Um,
reminded
okay, hold on. I want to read you the thing. Oh shoot, did I lose it? No, 55. So hold on, I'll read you a little bit of what it says because the book has all sorts of neat stuff around it. So let me do one. Here we go. Okay. All right. And this is from Chris Ann. She is a sweetheart and a wonderful teacher. It says, creator message, you are ready to bravely share your mission and your story with the world, and people will
that. Oh, wow.
respond positively to your ideas at this time. Work on expressing yourself confidently, Clear self-expression and confidence go hand in hand. And it says your fearless expression in business. Your fearless, authentic communication is going to be your marketing gold. People flock to honesty. Its power is palpable in person and on screen, and people want more of it. They are in awe of it. It's time for you to step up to the microphone and begin. Woo! I love it.
That is so timely.
It's perfect, right? Oh my.
It's
Oh.
perfect. Someone who doesn't believe in this stuff, they can actually say, I think they had this planned out.
I know, right? It's like, nope. Well, somebody had it planned out. It wasn't us.
True,
I
true,
believe in
true.
the great
Could you?
great powers that be. Oh, wow. That's so cool. Thanks for reminding me to do that. What a perfect timing. So, all right, fearless expression for all of us out there, and especially for you, Queen Marcel. So, thank you so much for spending all this time with us and taking time to educate everybody who is around you. And I know that there's going to be thousands and thousands of more women and people who are going to benefit from Bitcoin data and what you're doing. So once again, I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to give you a big hug in person. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and make sure you go follow Marcel at on Twitter at BTC_data. And until next time,